ओम सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, as the spiritual teacher, second part, and we are to start today chapter 7. And these last 3 chapters we have seen have gone beyond the spiritual teacher, and they are related to Sri Ramakrishna's divine mood. And about the divine mood, one full volume will come. And divine mood requires somebody to feel that divine mood. And so Swami Vivekananda is the representative and other direct disciples of the Master. That will be in the 5th order. But Saradananda Swami had not planned that. So he has told in the preface that some portion of Sri Ramakrishna's episodes we are telling, middle portion, because we want to show Sri Ramakrishna's personality. Now here, automatically that is led to that in the personality itself. And there, the perceivers, we find 2 types. One is the disciples, and the second is Gopalarma. So Gopalarma realized Thakur as her Ishtam. That is the main story. And in the previous chapter we have seen that she has got all the darshanas. And Thakur has certified that you have got everything. And she continues to do that japam for the sake of Thakur's health. And she had thrown away the rosary. But then she took another that what she will do for life. And for 2 months she had that living experience. And Thakur wanted that she should live long. People should see her. And so he ordained in such a way that those experiences reduced, not vanished. Whenever she should for meditation, she could see that, but not 24 hours. That much we have seen. Now in this chapter, chapter 7, Sri Ramakrishna in the company of devotees, that heading continues, the return chariot journey in 1885. We have seen that in the first chapter name was Navayatra, second chapter also. So Jagannath Mahaprabhu travels to some place and comes back on the 9th day. So now they had a return journey, from there it will start. In between, I have tried to analyze and understand, and I will tell 2 things. We are a little confused about first meeting, second meeting. Shashada's first meeting it is. Nowhere you will find another meeting. That is first meeting. And that name in Bengali What is the name in Bengali? Dvitiya Din. 2-3 anomalies were found. Bengali Dvitiya Din, here second meeting. And in Bengali itself, 2-3 days is mentioned, and then Dvitiya Din appears second day. We should understand the meaning of Dvitiya Din, then there will be no conflict. Another day, the exact translation of Dvitiya Din, not that same day, another day, that is Dvitiya Din. Now it may be 2-3 days afterwards. And that Dvitiya Din has become second visit. Now it is clear? It is first visit. And Dvitiya visit will happen now. And in first visit, all that conversation happened. Thakur was afraid and all that. In second meeting, why will be afraid? When newly meeting somebody, is become nervous. Anyway, so all that description is of first meeting, please. Bengali original is Dvitiya Din. That does not mean second meeting. It means on another day. So no anomaly between 2-3 days and second day, because it is not second day, another day. So, and now we come to this chapter and the story of Gopala's mother, last part. That is Saradananda Swamiji's style, because it will go beyond the chronology of the Leelaprasanga. She will, when she passes away, till then the description will continue. So Saradananda Swamiji, when he takes something, he tells it from beginning to end. Connectivity is the main property of Leelaprasanga. So we will find how it affected her life, how it affected her character, what changes came in her. That is what we are seeing. So here one shloka is there. Ananyas-chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. Very, very, very famous shloka. It is from the 9th chapter of the Gita. It is mentioned here, 9th, 22. Now, what is the meaning? First, let us understand the meaning, because cursorily reading a different wrong meaning comes. Ananyas chintayanto. No, that is not the syntax at all. To understand any sentence from Sanskrit or any poetry or whatever it is, the method is collect words of the same linga vachan vibhakti, put them together, then find the verb, and then find the other qualifying words. That is the way. So ananya janaha. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana. Ye ananya jana. Mam upasate. That is the main thing. Then how upasate? That is what you say, kriya visheshan adverb. Chintayanto upasate. Mam chintayanto upasate. Then again prathama vibhakti has come in the second clause. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam. Tesham, Shashti. So, Tesham nityabhiyuktanam. Yogakshemam vahami aham. So, Ananya Chintayanto will not have any meaning. Ananya word in the Gita, let us understand the shloka properly. Ananya word in the Gita has come in 3-4 places. Ananya Bhakti. Here, Ananya is near the qualification word of the Bhakti. Ananya is the qualifying word of Jana, people. Ananya Bhaktas, you must say, not Ananya Bhakti. Now, what is the meaning of Ananya? It is wrongly taken by the Vaishnavas. You should think of Krishna only, not of Rama. That is a big anya. You understand? If Rama is different, Krishna is different, then it is anya, not ananya. Now, in Kathopanishad we get that word. Ananya prakte gati ratra nasti. There we will get the meaning. Ananya jana. That means the man is not separate from God. You understand this now? In his consciousness, he does not take himself to be separately real or a separate person than God. Ananya jana. What this is very clear, not Ananya Chintayat. Ananya Jana. Now what this Ananya Jana will do? Mam Chintayanto Upasate. They will always be doing Upasana of God. By thinking of Him, contemplating on Him, by in various ways. So Ananya Jana Mam Chintayanto Upasate Tesham. For such people. And what type of people they have become now because of Ananya? Nitya Viyukta, no? They are aviyukta. That means nicely connected with God. Nitya means permanently. So Ananya Jana, by their chintan of God, have become permanently united or whatever you may call it, attached to God. For these people, Bhagavan does something. And what he does? Yoga Kshemam Aham Vahami. No, Yoga Kshemam does not mean yoga. Yoga means aprapter prapti. You don't have something, you get that thing. That is called yoga. And Kshema, Kshema means you have something, you have to protect that. That is called Kshema. That means whatever they need in their life, God brings it to them. They don't have to. They are Ananya Jana. They have no other thought. Then God takes care of them. And whatever they have, God protects them. They are not careful about. There is a story about Kabir Das. Did I tell in some reference? Kabir Das was Rama devotee. Though mostly he used to take Rama as Nirakar, Nirgun, but he believed in Rama, the son of Dacharatha. Now, he was a viewer by caste. So somebody had given him, some rich man or a king, lot of silk for making some shawl or something. And the king used to send some workers, officers to see. And they would go and report that nobody is doing any work there. Now the king himself came. Kabir is sitting on the terrace and doing Ram Bhajan. And so many workers appear there and very actively they are weaving. So, who was weaving? Rama himself. In Marathi there are beautiful songs on this. Je das Rama nami range, Rama hoi das. Das is busy in singing of Rama and Rama has become Das. One story. Secondly, knowing that lot of silk is there, some thieves came And they saw at the door two young men, bright, with bows and arrows protecting that. And they had to run away. Ram and Lakshman. So Khema, Yoga, Khema, Vamya. So now this is being told about Gopala's mother. When she became Ananya, I understood that. A line was there in Saradananda Swami. She saw all devotees as Rama and Gopal. She saw herself as Gopal, Gopal inside and Gopal outside. So she has become Ananya. Now whatever required, Shankar has defined this in a subtler way. That means not only food and drink, but whatever they require for spiritual growth, God guarantees that spiritual growth. And sometimes you hear of somebody fell spiritually. Now their spiritual height, God protects it. That is how it is commented. So all these things will see in Gopala's mother now. And wherever there may be slight deviation from this, Thakur will correct it. So, first para, the meaning I have given in English, I read that, to those of undivided minds who worship me and always remain united with me, I bring and preserve all the things they require. I am tempted to tell a story here. One devotee, one Pandit devotee, he believed Gita is the Vangmayi Murti of God, God himself in the form of literature. And he believed in every word of the Gita. But when he read the shloka, he thought how it is. God may arrange everything for them. But God himself, he says, Aham Vahami, I bring these things to them. So he said, this does not seem to be correct. And in red ink, he put a cross mark on that word. Vaham. There was some function in his house and he had no money. He went for bath to the river. And a young boy came to their house. In baskets, he was carrying all the necessary things for that function. And there was a wound mark on his chest, cross. And the wife asked, he said that your husband has sent all these things. Then what is that on your chest? He says, you ask your husband about it. And he went away. When the husband returned, she said, you have sent everything. He was astonished. And then she said, what was that mark? That boy said that you ask your husband. Then he understood. Vangmayi Murti, na? So the cross he has put on that word has come on God's chest. And God himself came to give that. That is a story. So then he believed Gita is really Vangmayi Murti. Every word is correct. Anyway, so the festival of the return chariot journey at Balram Basu's house. The master came to Balram Basu's house at Bagh Bazar in Calcutta on the occasion of the chariot festival. Sometime after the Brahmani of Kamarati had had the vision of the divine Lord in the form of Gopal. After some days, this happened. There was a crowd of devotees, and beside himself with joy, Balram Babu was receiving and welcoming all duly. Somewhere in the gospel it is described. Nobody could understand that Balram is the owner. He used to be felt like a servant doing all the duties. He was a devotee belonging to an ancient family of devotees. who had been devoted to God generation after generation, and not for one generation only. The Master's grace bestowed on his and his family was also unbounded. Now description of Balram will come for some time. He should see God and God should take care of him. The Master's desire to see the Sankirtan of Sri Chaitanya, his vision of the same, he saw Balram Babu in that party. So he was an associate of God even in previous incarnation. At one time, we were told by the Master himself, when he had desired to see Sri Chaitanya's Sankirtan through the streets of the town, Nagar Sankirtan. Chaitanya is famous for that. Publicly, openly, he would walk on the street with so big crowd, and they all doing Hare Krishna, like that, or singing other songs. He had a vision of it. He wanted to see, he got the vision. It was a wonderful affair. It was a boundless crowd, and there were unrestrained love inebriation and intoxicated with love of God or people. In the center of that tidal wave of maddening love, that limitless concourse of people began to proceed from the side of the Panchavati slowly forward in front of the Master's room. There he saw that kirtan. The Master said that in that procession, Balram Babu's face, serenely bright with the light of devotion, was one of the few faces which he saw and which were imprinted forever in his memory. I think about Master Masha also is telling me, adding perhaps you were also there. Balram I saw, perhaps you were also there. On the day on which Balram Babu came to the Dakshineshwar Kali temple to see the Master, as soon as the latter saw him, he recognized him to be that person seen in that procession. So all this refers to two things. Balram is an eternal companion of God. And secondly, Thakur could see his own incarnation previous and who will be his associate. Balram's service of God in many places. The food belonging to Balram was pure. Balram Babu had an estate in Kothar, Orissa. Now it has become a center. Mother lived there in those days. The service of God was carried on in the image of Shamchand. Krishna is called Shamchand there. You have heard this word? No, though it is not so common. Ram is Ramchandra, na? So Krishna is called Krishna Chandra. So Shamchand. He had a bower in Vrindavan. The bower, you understand? Creepers are in such a way like a roof, terrace. That is called a bower. Kunja. In Vrindavan, where the worship of Sham Sundar, the beautiful Krishna, was conducted. Vrindavan, that is Kothar. Kothar's name is Shamchand. Here the name is Sham Sundar. There was also the image of Jagannath in his Calcutta that we are seeing. And service was performed there. The food, said Sri Ramakrishna, given by Balram is pure. You see, Thakur was observing he used to take food cooked by Brahmins only. Some offerings he used to accept, but otherwise food cooked in by Brahmins only. Balaram was an exception. Balaram is a Kayastha, and Thakur freely took food with him. So observance of rules and breaking the rules, that is Avatar's property. Rules are meant for spiritual growth. Afterward there are, but the quality of the person, how this thing has come. Brahmin should take Brahmin's food. Other people's sanskaras will not be so pure. And Brahmin's mind will become contaminated if it takes food from them. And this is far spread in India. That means not only Brahmin. You remember one incident? The laborers engaged in Belur, they were all from Santal Pargana. From one side we will see very low caste. But Swami Vivekananda proposed to feed them one day. They said, how can we eat salt used by you? So those who don't want to eat salt of the Brahmins. So Swamiji said, all right. He did not want to hurt that sentiment. We will get food, we will cook food without salt. And so sweets and other things Swamiji fed them. So there we find that it is Brahmin sanskara, that is the main thing. So that is why Thakur maintained it. But if you go by sanskaras and not by outside caste, then Balaram's house is very pure. That is the method. And this you will find most exaggerated in Holy Mother. You know one story. Two stories I will tell. Nivedita cooked food and wanted to offer to Thakur in mother's house. Mother's house, so many ladies were living, all of the orthodox type. And there was a murmur. They did not like that idea at all. She is Videshini, foreigner. How you will give it to Thakur? They didn't speak out to mother, but that murmur. And that went to mother's ears. She said that those who do not like it, let them have their own way. Nivedita is Naren's daughter. She has every right to cook food for Thakur, and I will offer that. Those who cannot tolerate this, let them have their own way. That is what mother said. And other thing is still wonderful. Amjad was a half thief. That means when he has to get some work, he has to do. When he does not get work, he will steal. And Amjad went to jail for 6 months. He said, because of he was charged with the stealing of a cow. That means he has stolen a cow. And when he came to Holy Mother after that, with 2 plantains in his hand, and said, I have brought this for Thakur. He said, give me, I will offer it to Thakur. Now caste conscious is her niece, Nalini. Said, what, mother? He is a thief and he is bring. You don't know who is pure and I will offer. So rules are there for helping us in spiritual life, but they can be broken. Anyway, so there exists an indescribable, uncommon element in even the ordinary activities, daily or occasional, of great souls who are indeed few and far between. Anyone who was in the company of Sri Ramakrishna, even for a day, would specially comprehend the truth of this statement. If only we analyze the simple matter of the master's taking food given by Balaram, it will be quite clear. At one time during his sadhana, the master prayed and said to the mother, Mother, don't make me a dry and austere monk, keep me above want. Now, this also one has to understand very carefully. Translation has been done above what? You know Bengali? মা আমাকে শুকনো সাধু করিসনি রসে বসে রাখ রসে বসে রাখ in English I would be sitting in joy. So he wanted to have bhogas, not Shukna Sadhu. It has a very deep spiritual significance. Shukna Sadhu means generally the Vedantis are dry. They do not believe in bhakti. They do not believe in the Saguna Brahma. They are devoted to Nirguna Brahma. So their life is dry. On the other hand, Thakurjan incarnation and real nature of God is Nirgun Sagun. We have already seen that. So don't make me remaining in Nirgun always. I will be living in the Sagun Brahma also. Now that Sagun Brahma is a mark of joy. So Rase Vasera. Not that Rase Vasera may provide with me so many enjoyments. So the English has been carefully translated into keep me above one. But he is always above one. It has no wants at all. But this is the meaning.
Try and austere. Translation English. Try and austere. Is the carrying back me?
Translation is don't make me dry, Sadhu. Keep me above want.
Austere is also.
Austere, Shukna both he has made. Dry and austere. Because they will not mix so much with society. They will not love people. So knowledge without bhakti remains dry. So austere. And those who are social or mixing with people, they take whatever comes to them. That is the difference. I will not take this, I will not take that. In Bengali, there is a term for that, deriding term. Nak sit ke saath. That means seeing something will turn his nose. So that is dry and austere. And those who believe in know God to be transcendent, immanent, both or pervading, they are the same. The Divine Mother also showed him that 4 suppliers of provisions for him had been sent to the world. So if the required things will come to you, then there are suppliers. The master used to say that of those 4, Mathur, the son-in-law of Rani Rasmani, was the first. 14 years he served the master. Provided everything he wanted, not wanted. And Shambhu Malik, the second. After Mathur Babu, Shambhu Malik took care of Thakur's expenses. Surendranath Mitra, whom the master called Surendra and sometimes Suresh, was, he said, a half supplier. We had not the good fortune to see with our eyes the service of Mathuranath and Shambhu Babu. For we came to the master long after they had passed away. But we have heard from the master himself that it was a wonderful affair. We do not remember the master to have ever mentioned Balram to be one of the suppliers of his provision. But the privilege of his service, which we witnessed, appeared to us to be very extraordinary. It was not inferior in any respect to that of the other suppliers, except that of Mathur. We shall try to describe these things some other time. Let us now say only this, namely that Balram Babu supplied all the food necessary for the master, rice, candy, farina. What is farina? That is a semai, suji. Suji. What could be the other word? In Indian languages, it is called rava. In English, from wheat. Anyway, so it is called farina. Rice, candy, farina, sago, barley, vermicelli is that. What is the name of vermicelli these days? Wrong name which people use. Maggie. Maggie is the name of a company. Maggie is not the name of that. Maggie noodles. Noodles is a particular form given to that. Actually, the name is vermicelli. Vermicelli is long. This noodles is made a circular. Swamiji brought some vermicelli from foreign countries. And when he was eating that, his disciple, Orthodox disciple, asked, "What is this?" Swamiji said, "They are dry insects I brought." Barley, vermicelli, tapioca. Hey, tapioca, do you know? The borderland land between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. You may take Kerala also, and some Tamil Nadu also. It is a thing like potato or sweet potato. Understand? And somewhere it will come here itself, that palo deva kheer. That means the powder is mixed with milk to make a kheer. Tapioca. Now, when we were in the training center, there were two Kerala brahmacharis. And floating in the Ganges, these tapioca plants came. They being from Kerala immediately recognized. Our teacher was Shikshananda Swamiji. So with his help and they pulled it and planted in our garden. And every day they used to see it is growing. When they saw it is sufficiently grown, then they said, "We'll dig out today." And when they dug, nothing was there. Big holes, channels were there. You know bandicoots? Mouse or rat, a big size. They are called bandicoots. So bandicoots had finished all of them. Only the way, that channel like was left there. Nothing below. Anyway, that is called tapioca. In Tamil, it is called valli. And a community who exists on that is called valli. People exist on potato, there is a food only. So they don't have money or means to purchase wheat or rice. they subsist on that thing only. So the whole community is called Valli. The Lord Murugan. Murugan, you know, Kartika or Subramanya is called Murugan. Murugan is beautiful. Married a girl from Valli. So, that is his sixth house. He retired and stayed there. Valli Amma name you will hear. Anyway, so that is the Valli. That is tapioca. Anyway, etc. From the day he first went to Dakshineshwar. Oh, first went to Dakshineshwar, from that he started supplying food to the day when the master passed beyond our gross vision. Master passed away, he went beyond our gross vision. And later on also in the Varanagar Mutt also. And Surendra or Suresh Mitra, as he was called, shortly after he had met the master, used to make arrangement for the food and bedding for those devotees who spent night with the master at Dakshineshwar to serve him. Thakur's food Balram. Those who served Thakur, their food Suren. And Thakur had called Suren as Ha Prasada. Who can say what hidden relation these persons had with the master, and who can explain why they had that high privilege vouchsafed to them? So they are from some other loka. We have understood this much, that they were rare, fortunate persons, especially marked by the mother of the universe. They would not otherwise have been born with the privilege of being helpers to the present Leela of Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, their faces would not have been so deeply imprinted in such a way in the ever-free, pure and awakened mind. If you are attached to something, then that becomes imprinted. Thakur is not attached to anything. But the persons are rare. Pure and awakened mind of Sri Ramakrishna has to enable him to recognize them as soon as he saw them. He said, they belong to here. That is, to him. They are born with this special privilege, adhikari. The master always said here and of this place instead of I and mine. Its reason. When he started, that Gauri Pandit used to utter like this. Then Thakur started talking like this. Mathura said, why you are telling like that? They are doing arop like that. You already are not, you have no ego. But since that day, Thakur started. It was very natural for him. That Saradananda Swami is explaining. The master used to say they belong to here instead of their mind. For not the slightest eye consciousness could find a place. Now I will tell you the meaning. If this body is Thakur's, your body, everybody's body is Thakur's. So how can we say I to this body? But there was something very special about that body and the mind. So he is referring to here. Here, there, here. Not the slightest eye consciousness could find a place in Sri Ramakrishna's pure mind. It was therefore very difficult for him to use the words I and mine. Or why say difficult? He could not at all use these two words. When it became absolutely necessary to utter them, he would say them in the sense of I am the servant or the child of the mother. Sometimes he did use I in the sense I am the child of the mother, the servant of the mother. And this also could only be said if the mind had this attitude beforehand in full. That is why, when in any case it was necessary to say mine in the course of conversation, the master almost always pointed to his body and said, of this place. The devotees also could understand from it what he meant. For example, when he said, such and such a person is not of this place, it is not the attitude or idea of this place, and so on, we knew that he meant to say he or she was not his. It was not his attitude or idea. About that one, Nityananda, Thakur had said that he has a very high state, but he does not belong to this. How and how long these suppliers serve the master? Now that topic has come. Sadhana Swami makes some estimate and calculation. Now we shall say something about the suppliers of the master's provision. The master's first supplier, Mathura Nath, was engaged in serving the master for 14 years, from the time of his first auspicious advent to the Kali temple to sometime after his sadhana was at end. Till then Mathura was there. Then Mathura passed away. The second one, Shambhu Babu, lived and served the master from some time after Mathura Babu passed away to some time before Keshav and other devotees of Calcutta went to him. That is his period. The half-supplier Suresh Babu lived, served and took care of him and his sannyasi devotees from 6 or 7 years before the master passed away to 4 or 5 years after that event. He is combining both. You know, when they got scattered, Suren Babu came running to Naren's house and said, Thakur told me, my disciples are running here and there. Why don't you do something? Hire a house and keep them there. So even after Thakur's passing, his house rent Suren Babu used to give always. And we have seen the expenses of others. So this is continued for 4 or 5 years after that event. The Baranagar monastery, which was later converted into Berur Mutt, was founded in 1886 in the old dilapidated house of the Munshi Babus at Baranagar at the eager request of this Suresh Babu and with his money. There are 1.5 suppliers yet to be accounted for. 4 suppliers he had said, and Suresh is half supplier. So 2.5 counted. Then 1.5 remain. There are 1.5 suppliers yet to be accounted for. Where are they? The American lady Mrs. Sarah Sibul, who helped Swami Vivekananda so much in establishing the Belur Mutt. The land was purchased with Bull's money. Temple was constructed long afterwards. That is, Akhilananda Swami was in America. And 2 lady devotees of his, they gave that money for that temple. But the land was purchased and Belur Mutt was made with Sarah Bull's money. And Balram Babu, of whom we are speaking, are they these 1.5? Who will now decide the question in the absence of gross form of Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda? That means Vivekananda might be knowing, but knowing like that, Saradananda Swami has made a guesswork. He is also a Rishi, he knows, but he has put in this word. All the members of Balram's family are strung to the same tune. Ever since Balram Babu went to Dakshineshwar, he used to invite Sri Ramakrishna to his house at the time of the car festival every year. His house, or rather his brother Rai Harivallabh Basu Bahadur's house. There Balram lived, who was a famous advocate of Cuttack, Orissa, was situated on Ramkanta Basu Street at Bagwadar. We should not misread it as Ramakant. It is Ramkant. Now what will be the meaning? Kanta generally means husband. Ramakanta is Vishnu. What is Ramkanta? Ram as Kanta. Not Rama's Kanta. Ram is male. So Ram as Kanta. That is Ramkanta. Ramkanta Basu Street at Bhagwada. Balram Basu used to live in his brother's house. The number of the house was 57. It cannot be ascertained how many times the house 57 Ramkanta Basu Street was sanctified by the presence of the Master. Who will ascertain how many people have been blessed with the privilege of seeing him there? The Master sometimes jokingly called the Dakshineshwar temple the fort of Kali the Mother. It will not be an exaggeration to call this house her second fort. All the members of Balram's family, said the Master, are strung to the same tune. Every one of his house, from the Master and the mistress to the little children, was the Master's duty. They did not take anything, even water, before performing the jap of the name of the Divine Lord. Everybody, small children also. They had equal regard for the pious acts of worship, holy reading, service of monks, gifts for good causes, etc. It is seen in many families that while one or two of the members are religious, the others are of a different nature, foreign element, so to say. But in this family, it was different. All were of the same nature. Rare, perhaps, are the families in the world who are selflessly religious. Selflessly, because religion is of two types. I worship God because He should give me this and give me that. Now, that is not what Balram is doing. Selflessly religious. Rarer still are those in which all the members have love for the same ideal and help one another in realizing it. That this family was there for the Master's second fort and that he enjoyed being there were not matters of surplus. That poor fellow enjoyed has come. এখানে আসিয়া ঠাকুর বিশেষ আনন্দ পাইবেন ইহার চিত্র used to be very happy here. The car festival in Balram's house was an expression of love of God without pomp and grandeur. We already said that there was the service of Jagannath in his house. So a chariot used to be drawn at the time of the chariot festival. But everything was an expression of the love of God and there was nothing of external pomp and grandeur. Rajagun Puja nahi hai, Satyagun Puja. Noise, decoration of the house, music, the din and bustle of the rabble. There was nothing of all these. What is rabble, right? Dauda Dodi bole. Dauda Dodi. People running helter-skelter there. Din and bustle of the rabble. There was nothing of all this. A small chariot used to be drawn in the quadrangular veranda in the first floor of the outer apartment, facing all the four quarters and overlooking a square court below. We understood that day. A party of kirtan singers came. They sang kirtan as the chariot was drawn and the master and the devotee joined in the singing. But in what other place will one have that bliss, that profusion of the love of God, that God-intoxicated mood, and that sweet dance of the master, pleased with the pure devotion of the Satvika family? Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, manifested himself in the image on the chariot and in the body of Sri Ramakrishna. In what other place would one meet with that wonderful sight? Carried away by the current of pure devotion, even the hearts of godless men melted into tears. Not to speak of those devotees, after a few hours of such kirtan, cooked food was offered to Jagannath, and after the master had had his meal, all others took prasad. Afterwards, late in the night, that fair of bliss come to an end, and all except a few went home. Some remained there with master. The writer had the taste of this bliss only once in his life. So he is describing in detail of this Navayatra. It was on that occasion that at the master's request, Gopala's mother was invited. We are speaking of the festival of the return chariot journey of the year 1885. The master came to Balram Babu's house on that day, spent there 2 days and 2 nights, and returned by boat to Dakshineshwar on the third day at 8 or 9 in the morning. The master came in the morning to that house. He sat for some time in the outer apartment, and then he was taken to the inner one for a little refreshment. Many men devotees assembled in the outer apartment, coming in twos and threes, and in the inner apartment also came all the women devotees of the master from the neighboring houses. Many of the latter were Balram Babu's relatives or acquaintances. He used to send for them and have them brought to his house whenever the master came there. And also, whenever he used to go to Dakshineshwar to pay visit to Sri Ramakrishna, he had them brought to his house and took them there with him in the horse carriage. Many women devotees, the lady Bhavini, Asim's mother, Ganu's mother, and grandmother, or again this man's mother, that person's aunt, a third husband's sister, a fourth neighbor, and so on and so forth, all came that day to Balram's house. The wonderful relation of the master with the women devotees. We are unable to express what a sweet relation the master devoid of the slightest tinge of desire. Kama Gandha Eid. So tinge of desire. Had with these chaste and virtuous women devotees. Because they are women, so Saradananda Swamiji is describing this. Man in relation with woman, people take in a bad way. So they were also chaste and virtuous, and Thakur was not even slightest desire. Many of them knew the master even then as their chosen ideal. So God is being seen by them. Everyone had that faith in him. 2 sentences, what they mean? Everyone had that faith, and some knew. Now you understand? Some through experience or realization knew. Others had faith that he was their Ishtadeva. Again, some fortunate ones among them knew this directly, like Gopala's mother, though through visions, etc. So some others were also there. So they knew the master as more than their own and did not feel any fear or hesitation in his presence. When they had prepared any nice food at home, in the first instance they set apart a portion of it for the master before using it for the household, and either sent it or themselves took it to him at Dakshineshwar. It cannot be calculated how many times these ladies walked to Dakshineshwar and back home during the master's lifetime. On some occasion, they returned home there after sunset on others at 10 p.m., on still others later than midnight, after the kirtan and festival. Kirtan and festival, etc., were over at Dakshineshwar. The master, like a boy, eagerly consulted some of them regarding the medicine for his stomach trouble. If one smiled to see him do so, to Lucy, he said, "What do you know? She is the wife of a great doctor. She cannot but know a few medicines." And about someone among them, he saw her intense love toward him. He said, "She is a gopi perfected by God's grace. Krupa Siddha Gopi." On some other, when he had tasted the food cooked by her, he said, "She is a cook of Vaikuntha. She has a perfect hand in cooking shukto." And so on. Who is this? You know that? Nistarini Devi, that who constructed Swami Vivekananda established Thakur in their house?
Yes.
Those people.
First he
Ah,
started
that wife of Nistarini Devi. About her, Thakur said this.
that's how
So full background is now ready for Gopal's mother to come. Up to that point we are reached. Om Sarvadharma Stapakastam Sarvadharma Swarupakah Acharyana Acharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.